for the best car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Couldn't have sung it better myself. And, of course, the owner of Low Overhead Country, better known as Frontier Motors, has joined us here in the studio, ready, well, and certainly more than able to take any inquiries from you, preferably by phone. That'd be the easiest way. 478-3116. We'd be happy to hear from you, 478-3116. That's the phone number to get a hold of Iven Streckel, and he will provide you with all kinds of automotive information, including prices, including answering your questions or listening to your comments. So give us a call if you want to ask Iven Streckel of Frontier Motors a question. We got 30 minutes to get in here, 478-3116. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Don, thanks for the introduction. This is a double formatted show, which means that this is live, like Don said, at 1370 Talk Radio. We've been doing this show going on 21 years now. We are also videotaping this for our Blab TV customers. So if you're watching this on cable or satellite, this is probably not a live show, but it is an information show about the automotive industry and what's going on in the Pensacola area. A little bit about what's going on at Frontier Motors, but most of all to let you know that there is a dealership in Pensacola that when you're in the market for a car and you might need our services, we supply those services at no charge. And what are those services? Well, number one, it's a free appraisal. And that's one of the things that you might not need right now. But what if someone were to run a red light and your car is now totaled? Wouldn't it be nice to know how much your car should be worth as far as what the insurance estimate's going to be? Also, what if the car is not totaled, but it has diminished value? In other words, it has been depreciated because of a major accident, and you should be able to get a little bit of money from the insurance company to make sure that the value of a car, which now has been compromised, that you're going to be reimbursed for that. So those are a couple of things. Now, the other thing that we can help you with when we talk about free appraisals is what if you decide you're going to buy a brand spanking new car? You've saved all your money, you've worked really hard, and you said, Ivan, I know I saw the show and I know about depreciation. I know I can save a bunch of money if I buy one that's a half a year old or a year, but I don't care. I'm going to buy a brand new car. Well, how can we help you out if you're going to do that? Well, two ways. Number one is you can come to us for an invoice of the brand new car. We have the new car cost guides at the dealership. We subscribe to these. These are the invoice guides to all the new cars out there. And Consumer Reports charges almost $15 for an invoice. And they tell you should have an invoice if you're going to buy a brand new car, because if you know what the dealer paid, you can save yourself a lot of time by knowing that they need to make a profit. But if you know what they paid, it makes it so much easier. Again, we provide this information at no charge. The other thing we can help you with if you're going to buy a brand new car is get a second opinion on your trade-in. Obviously, one of the things that we teach you to do is to get a good price on the car you're thinking about buying. So if you're going to buy a brand new car, let's just use Lexus. I like picking on Lexus because there's not a local Lexus dealership. So Lexus and Mobile is our competition to the Lexus. But let's say you're going to buy a brand new Lexus from Lexus and Mobile. Well, what we urge you always to do is go to 3 or 4 different websites, different Lexus dealerships, get a price without a trade-in. And then once you know which is the best possible price without the trade-in, and you toss that dealer your keys, let's say you drive up there and you say, okay, I want to get an idea of what you're going to give me for my car. Well, if you've already stopped at Frontier Motors or you've called us, we can tell you what they should be appraising your car for. And we can do this right over the phone. We can do it right here. Matter of fact, if you're driving down the road, Don already gave the phone number. It's 478-3116, 478-3116. And we can help you by giving you that value right over the phone. Or you can stop at Frontier Motors, which is 230 Beverly Parkway. You can email us. There's a lot of different ways to get the information. I would be helpful if I had the ID number. The ID number is a 17-digit VIN number, which is normally on your windshield or on your door or on your title. So it's also on your insurance papers. So if you're driving down the road and you got your insurance papers with you in the glove box, look at your insurance document. It'll have the ID number on there. And it helps me because once I take that information and plug it into my computer system that I subscribe to, it tells me what the Carfax and the auto check is. Now, most of you out there know what Carfax is. Some of you might not be familiar with AutoCheck, which is the second largest provider of history reports in the nation. Carfax is number 1. AutoCheck is number 2. We subscribe to both of them and give you this information at no charge. So if you don't know what your history report says, it's almost like checking your credit score. You know, if you haven't done that lately, you should do it just to make sure the credit hasn't been compromised. Well, the same thing with your car that you're driving. I had this happen years ago where a customer came in and he was going to sell me his Corvette. And I remember it was an older gentleman. He came in and I told him, I said, well, you know, I wouldn't be interested in your car after I ran the Carfax because it said it had been in an accident. He said, and it's kind of hard to sell a Corvette that's been in an accident. I'm not saying it's impossible to sell it, but you're going to have to sell quite a bit cheaper if it's been an accident because it's somewhat of a specialty car. This gentleman said, I bought this car brand new. It's never been in an accident. I says, well, I'm looking at the Carfax report right now, and it says that he blew a gasket. The guy was ticked off. Not so much at me, but I was the bearer of the bad news, but he was mad at Carfax, and he couldn't figure out how it could have gotten on there. And it took him a couple of days, and he came back. He said, I figured it out. He went down to the motor vehicle department because there's a police report that was on there. He said, I figured it out. He was a witness at an accident. And Dan, you being an ex-officer can just attest to that. So you get the witness's name and phone number, whatever. Somehow that information got on the police report with his ID number. Mm-hmm. That he was a witness. It was actually a pedestrian. Somebody hit a pedestrian, and he saw it happen. So he was a witness, and that got on his Carfax report that his car had been in an accident. Well, of course, he got it straightened out and got it taken off, and I ended up buying the car, and I ended up selling the car without an accident on it. But sometimes there's a mistake, and that's why we are here to help you run the Carfax report or the auto check at no charge. What if you found a car on, you ever see these smaller dealer lots at on Palafox or any place in Pensacola? There's 104 used car dealers. About 4 or 5 of them are like Frontier Motors that are regular dealers. Most of the others of them are like buy here, pay here. Little small dealers that sell 5 to 6 cars a month. But they don't subscribe to Carfax. It's too expensive for them. So if you find a car on one of their lots, you call Frontier Motors with the ID number. I'll run the Carfax for you. Also, when I plug that number into my system, it also spits out an average selling price in our area with the equipment and the miles of the car that you're looking at. So if I plug in the particular car and it comes back and says the average selling price in our area is $17,000, well, if the dealer you're working with is asking $20,000, you can use my information. You don't have to get mad at them. You can just say, hey, I like your car. It's got a clean Carfax. But I was over at Frontier Motors, and they said they can sell a car like that for about $17,000. You're asking $20,000. I'll tell you what I'll do. If you drop your price down to $17,000, I'll go ahead and buy the car. Now, if the dealer doesn't do that, or if it's a private individual, if they don't do that, that's when we spring into action. Because what we're going to do is we're going to show you that we have 400 vehicles in inventory, and we probably have just about the same car you're looking at on our lot right now, which we can sell for $17,000. I'm not here to kink somebody else's deal. So if the selling price should be $20,000, I'll tell you pay $20,000. But if I can buy a car like that at the auction for $15,000, and that's how sometimes I get my pricing. It's not so much the NAD retail or the Edmunds or the Kelly Blue Book. You know, those are the normal books that you find on the internet. But how do you know if those books are right or if they're wrong? Sometimes they're low. Most of the times they're too high. And the way to find out which one is right is by contacting Frontier Motors and saying, I want the real price of a car, not the book price. And if I can go to the auction, we'll use an example again, and buy a car for $15,000 at the auction, I can tell you, hey, I can sell that car for $17,000, maybe $18,000 after expenses and shipping and auction fee, setup fee, detail, fill it up with gas, make sure there's 2 keys, and still make a profit. And let's just use the figure of $18,000. Well, if your neighbor's got that car for sale for $20,000 or another dealership has the car for $20,000, I'm just going to tell you that's too much because I can sell it for $18,000 and still make a profit. So these are some of the things that we're talking about that we can help you with at Frontier Motors. I touched a little bit about what happens when you get into a car accident. And folks, we help a lot of people on a weekly basis that come in and say, hey, Ivan, I heard the radio show, saw you on TV, and I want to get a diminished value. And folks, if you don't know what that is a value of your car now after an accident. What is the value of the car after an accident? And of course, the more exotic the car, the more the effect has. If you're driving a 2017 Lamborghini and it's been in a major accident, just imagine what the value of that car is going to be after an accident. It could have been compromised $15,000 or $20,000. Now, some of the older cars, I've had this happen a couple of weeks ago where a gentleman came in with a 180,000-mile car. He said, hey, somebody ran into my car. What is it worth now that's been an accident? I said, it's really no difference because it's not worth a lot anyways with 180,000 miles on it. So I didn't feel that there was diminished value there. Now, the reason you'd want to have diminished value is because if it wasn't your fault, if you get into an accident and it wasn't your fault, most of the time the insurance will compensate you for diminished value. And I had an example that I used a couple of weeks ago where last year I had a lady come in with a BMW 5 Series. She had bought it from Sandy Sansing brand new. It was a very low mileage car. I believe it had about 15,000 miles on. And she had a major accident with the car. I believe it was about $15,000 damage. It wasn't her fault. Somebody ran a red light, slammed into her car. She took it back over to Sandy Sansing. They fixed it at their body shop. They did a phenomenal job. You could never tell it was an accident. And by the way, they used brand new BMW parts. So you really had to know what you're talking about as far as being able to determine that it had been an accident. But she came and told me, and when I ran the Carfax report, it says major accident reported, airbags deployed, vehicle had to be towed from the scene. Well, what do you think that does to the value of her car? It goes down the toilet. And I gave her a diminished value on her car of about $5,000. So after she got the money from the insurance company, we put the car on the lot and sold it on consignment. But we sold it for $5,000 less than normal because of the accident. And you know what? I thought it would take some time to sell this car. It didn't at all. That car sold in a couple of weeks because somebody saw that they got a really good deal. And they said, well, how come this car is so cheap? And we explained why it was so cheap. It had been an accident, but it did get fixed at a brand new body shop, a local shop. And matter of fact, they even warranted the parts and the paint job. So they were able to buy that car for $5,000 less. Don, do we have a call?
We do indeed. This is Bob.
Hey, Bob, thanks for calling the Frontier Motor Show. How can we help you?
Ivan, I want to thank you for all the help that you gave me dealing with my Honda, and also to ask you, did you get that jar of cane syrup I left you, or did somebody run off with it?
No, thanks, Bob. Thanks for calling the show. Yeah, Bob came in for a diminished value. I did get your little gift. I do appreciate that. It was very nice, by the way. And I think what happened, Bob, with your situation is that I felt that when you asked me the value of your car, that the insurance company was trying to lower the value of over what I thought. Is that correct, if I remember right?
That is correct, yeah, by quite a bit. It was over $1,000 less that they came up with once I said the numbers were bogus.
Well, I'm glad that helped because I know it wasn't easy. Matter of fact, you'll use Bob as an example. He had a Honda that I told him the value of the car of, and what they did something that is not unusual, is they went on comparables instead of values. In other words, they didn't use the NADA value. They used comparables. But the funny thing is they found some local comparables. Matter of fact, it happened to be one at Pete Moore, and it was $6,900, and it was quite a bit higher than the comparable they used, and I couldn't figure that out. But fortunately, it had a happy ending, didn't it, Bob?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Check in hand deposited.
All right. Well, thanks for calling the show, and thanks for the gift, Bob. That was very nice. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoy that. Yeah, that was fresh made Saturday. We made 88 gallons. So
oh, my God. Good job. Thanks so much. November is our anniversary. November means that we have been in business for 21 years, which means officially we're going into our 22nd year in business. And for 22 years, I've been talking on this radio show about depreciation. And I'm so happy to announce that finally, last year, Consumers Reports put in writing what I've been talking about for 22 years, and they are saying that depreciation is real. But not only are they saying it's real, they're giving us figures. They're saying that last year, the average price of a new car was approximately $35,000. Not the list price, but the transaction price. This is after rebates, incentive, taxes, and everything. $35,000 was the average selling price of a new car last year. If you kept that car 1 year, it depreciates 27%, which is $9,200. And they have it in April's edition in writing. So this is not something that I'm making up. This is crazy, folks. Can you imagine if you're saying, okay, I'm going to buy a brand new car, Ivan. I don't care what you say. I'm going to buy a brand new car. Well, if you do, and next year you come to an average car dealership, doesn't have to be Frontier Motors, just any other, could be a new car lot. And you say, I'm going to trade my car in. The average appraisal will be $9,200 less than what you paid for the car in one single year. Now, if I buy that car for $9,200 less at the auction, for example, and I mark it up $3,000, which is paying for fees, auction fees, shipping, the buyer's fee, and then some profit, you're still going to save $6,200. If I mark it up $2,000, you're going to save $7,200 on the average. Some cars, like the Corvette that I drove to the show, I mentioned this the other day. I got a Corvette on the lot, folks. This is mind-boggling. This car's got 9,000 miles on it. It's a Z06 automatic transmission Corvette with a window sticker for $106,000. An extreme example of depreciation. I've got 9,000 miles on the car. I can sell it for $69,000. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but can you imagine the poor sap that bought that car for $106,000? And you know, when that car came out a year and a half ago, that car sold for $10,000 over window sticker because the Z06 this is the first time they ever made a Z06 with an automatic transmission. So they were a hot commodity. They weren't discounting the car. They were marking the car up over list price. So the guy paid over $120,000 for this car, or close to it. And I can sell the car with 9,000 miles on it for $69,000 and still make a little bit of money. So I'm happy. And if you're in the market for a car like that, you've got to be doing a backflip. It's hard to believe. I had another example that I brought with BMW 16550 BMW, which we have on lot right now on consignment. And that car's got a window sticker of $76,000. We can sell it for $53,000. It's got 16,000 miles on it. Folks, it's just amazing how much you can save on one-year car. When I look at what we have in inventory and some of the mileage of the miles that we have on these, what I consider used cars, I'll give you an example. We've got two Nissan cargo vans, these little NV200s. If you're a small business, you need a small cargo van. I've got one on the lot with 50 miles, another one on the lot with 63 miles. We've got a Nissan Altima with 370 miles on it. We have a 17 Prius V. If you don't know what Prius V is, that's the larger Toyota Prius electric car. I mean, a hybrid, I should say, an electric. It's got 500 miles on it. We have a Chevy Equinox, a 17 Equinox with 1,500 miles on it. We have a Mazda Miata with 1,900 miles on it. We have a Lexus ES350 with 2,000 miles. And that's just some examples of the used cars that we have at Frontier Motors. And if anybody would ask me, what do you specialize in? We are not a specialty dealership. When I say specialty, I'll give you an example. Most people in Pensacola know Leo's Corvettes. They're right here on W Street. What does Leo specialize in? Don, do you have any idea?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Corvettes.
I can't believe you were listening. That's really good, Don. And if you go to the Mini Cooper dealership, you got BMW Mini Cooper, Sandy Stansing over here. What do you think he specializes in? Even on the used car lot, I went up there the other day. They've got a lot of Mini Coopers.
Ah, indeed.
And it goes on and on and on. At Frontier Motors, because we are an independent dealership, we sell every make and model. So somebody says, well, Ivan, what do you specialize in? Well, we don't specialize in Corvettes or sports cars or pickup trucks or heavy-duty trucks. We have everything. But if somebody were to back me in the corner and say, oh, come on, there's got to be something, I would say yes. We are the alternative to new, which means that we stock at least 150 cars on the lot that have under 15,000 miles on it. That's a lot of cars with under 15,000 miles on it because we want to be the alternative to new. Now, because we have so many cars that are like brand new, we also have a lot of cars on the lot that we've taken in trade that we can sell for under $10,000. So don't think because we're somewhat of a high-line new car lot, or the alternative to new cars, that we don't have regular used cars on lot, because we do. Now, I don't buy the older used cars at auction because at the auctions, you do not get to inspect the cars. Now, I buy newer cars at auctions because they are guaranteed by the auction, but the older cars aren't. So where do I get my older cars? Well, number one, I take them in trade, but number two, I buy them from private individuals like yourself. And one of the things that we talk you into doing is not putting your car on AutoTraderCars.com or Craigslist. We talk you into driving into 230 Beverly Parkway, which is the home of Frontier Motors, and giving us 15 minutes of your time, and let us write you a check for that car, and you will be pleasantly surprised that we will give you more than wholesale, but less than retail, somewhere in the middle. And it saves you the time of having people come over to the house, maybe getting scammed, wanting to test drive your car, maybe making you ridiculous offers, wanting you to take a trade-in, wanting you to finance it, wanting you to warranty it. These are all things that people ask for when you're selling your car. So how do you get around that? You bring it to us. Now, also what I can do, if it's a car that you don't need to drive every day of the week, I can offer you consignment. Now, normally I will give you between $1,000 to $1,500 more on consignment than on a purchase. You might ask, well, why would you give me more on consignment? Well, one reason is I don't have to tie up my cash. I don't have to worry about any more depreciation. Once I buy your car, it's mine. But if I have it on consignment, I have it for free. So I get two cars. I get your car on consignment, and I get to use my money to buy another car. Now, we make sure that when we take a car on consignment, that we give you more than what we would give you if you purchased it, if we just wrote you a check for it. But yet it has to be a good deal for our buyer, that we're not overpricing the car because it's consignment. And the nice thing about consignments at Frontier Motors, we don't charge a fee. There's no $250 a month. There's no percentage of commission. All there is a figure. If I tell you I can net you $25,000 for your car, if I sell that car for $26,000, I'm making $1,000, and you get a check for $25,000, and that's how easy it is. So we normally have between 15 and 30 cars on consignment all the time. I think right now we're up to about 30 cars on consignment. So it's a really good way for you to get rid of a car without having to do any work, and we do all the advertising. We put it on 10 different websites, including our own. We do the Carfax. We do the auto check. We help you recondition the car if it needs to go out for detail, you need a set of tires, or it's got a cracked windshield. We can fix all those things. And we've been doing consignment since we've been open going on 21 years now. So that's a long time. It's really helped people in the Pensacola area be able to dispose of a car. So sometimes people go to a new car dealership and they get sucked in. You know what I mean by that? I don't mean that in a bad way. They go there just to look. I want to look at what's new. Next thing you know, they open a door and they got that new car smell, and they got that really low lease payment. You've heard of that $199. You know, you walk in there and you say, well, I wasn't thinking about buying a car. Next thing you know, you're driving out in a brand new car and you're thinking, like, now what am I going to do with mine? They wouldn't took mine in trade. It was a lease. They didn't want my car. They wouldn't give me enough money for it. So I'm going to sell it myself. So you throw it on Craigslist, and 4 weeks later, nothing happens. And you wonder, what's going on? Well, one thing you didn't do is you didn't consult Frontier Motors, because we do free consulting. We tell you if you are going to sell your car yourself, where should you advertise it? What should you do to it? And number one, what should you really ask for? Forget about the NEDA, the Edmunds, and the Kelly Blue Book. What should it really be priced at? Because we're your competition. And I've got a program called Price Driver that tells me every car like yours and what they're selling for within 150 miles. I can put nationwide in there. I can put 500 miles, but it defaults to 150. So we can find out what's for sale and what are these dealers or private individuals asking for these cars, just to make sure that you don't, number one, underprice your car, which normally doesn't happen, but that you don't overprice your car. I find a lot of times when I see private individuals pricing their cars, they're pricing them at or above retail. Well, it's hard to sell a car for above retail when you're competing with dealerships like Frontier Motors. So, free consulting at Frontier Motors. Anytime that you have any questions of what you should price a car for, you stop and see us. We talked a little bit about depreciation. We also, the nice thing about being an independent dealer, folks, is that, we're almost like going to a car show. When you stop into Frontier Motors, you'll be pleasantly surprised, number one, that our salespeople unlock every single car every morning. So let's say you're on your lunch hour and you want to sit in 5 different cars. I always say that the best way that I can sell you a car, other than the looks of the car, is how the car feels when you slip behind the wheel. If the car is locked, it takes forever for a salesman to run back and forth and get keys. So we make this easy for you that if you're on your lunch hour, you can sit in 10 different cars in 100 minutes. If you get behind the wheel and you don't like it, you're going to know it right off the bat. We'll continue this in a minute. Don, do we have a call?
This is Mike.
Hey, Mike, thanks for calling the Frontier Motor Show. How can we help you?
Hey, Ivan. Hey, listen, I just want to pass on to the folks that are listening. I bought the best car I've ever owned from you. It was an '08 Toyota Avalon with 58,000 miles on it. Oh. And a little bit later on, there was discovered that there's some unseen damage underneath. Mm-hmm. I talked to Todd Gordon, and he says, Mike, you've already paid for the car. We'll take care of it. Oh. Took it over to West Florida, and they took care of the damage. It was not suspension-wise, and a great car. Great car. I got about 65,000 miles on it. I paid a fair price for it, and like I say, it's the best car I've ever had.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you calling the Frontier Motor Show and giving a shout-out. And by the way, we have a 2017 Avalon on the lot, so if you're thinking maybe you want to upgrade, it's almost time to do it if you got an 08 there. Come on, Mike. Come on in here.
Yeah. Hey, Ivan, I've got an 05 Toyota Highlander that I bought new, and I've got a 71 Volkswagen Bus that I bought new.
No wonder the economy's in the shambles that it's at when people like you keep your cars forever. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for calling the show. I appreciate the shout out. It's a very good compliment. Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Yeah. And folks, Don remembers the example that I use of a young kid. I use this every once in a while. This was a couple of years ago, but I remember like it was yesterday, Don, where a gentleman came in on a Monday morning at Frontier Motors and told us the story. I said, well, what was the story? He said, well, on Saturday I bought a truck. The kid's like 19 years old. He said, I bought a truck from a major independent dealer, not independent, major franchise dealership in Pensacola. And he said on the expressway on Sunday, the drive shaft fell out of his vehicle, his truck. It literally fell off on the side of the road, in the middle of the road, actually, on the expressway. He rolled over to the side. He ran back. He got his drive shaft. Fortunately, it didn't hit anybody. And he put it in the back of his truck, called the tow truck, took it back to the dealership. Of course, Monday morning, they're closed on Sunday. Monday morning, he come in, he asked to see the manager. Well, the manager says, what you need, the young man? He told the story what happened. He says, hold on for 1 second. The manager went into the finance department and got the deal jacket out, which is the paperwork, and he pulled out a piece of paper out of the deal jacket, and he showed it to the young man. See what this is, young man? And he looked over at it, and he said, yeah, that's an as-is. He says, see where you signed this? That says as-is? He says, yeah. He says, that means you bought this vehicle as-is. Don't you get it? And the young man was a little mystified. He said, well, so what are you saying? We're not helping you with nothing. I tell you, the guy came to Frontier Motors, and he told us that story, and he said, I'll tell you what, Ivan, he says, I'll never, ever buy a car from that dealership again. And on top of that, I'm going to tell all my friends and family and relatives, anybody I work with, never to buy a car there again. And I said, this is how stupid some dealerships are. We talked about, like Mike just called the show, and I remember this happened a couple of years ago. Somehow that car he had, somebody had bottomed it out or hit something on the road. Maybe he hit a drive shaft on the roadway, because Mike came in and said, hey, the bottom of my car is dented. And I said, well, how can that be? Well, we never checked it. I didn't crawl underneath the car and check the car out. It was a relatively new car. So when he told us about it, I said, oh, darn it, I feel so bad. I said, take it over to the body shop, take it to West Florida. And he got them to look at it and say, yeah, we can fix it. I don't know. Let's just say it was $1,000. And you know what I did? We just wrote a check and just fixed it for him, because we felt bad that it happened. And folks, and that's really what should happen when you buy a vehicle from somebody. Now, anything can break, and I'm not saying that we're going to pay for damage that you do to a car after you buy it from us. But I feel that if I sell you a car and it has some issues and we didn't catch it, we should catch it. You know, we're a dealer that we look at our cars very closely before we buy them, and we want to make sure that when we sell a product to a customer, that it's a good product and that there's no issues with it. So when we get a car like that, we want to make sure that it's right, and we want to help you to make sure that you're buying a good product. And of course, that when you're ready to buy another car, like Mike is, when he is ready to buy a car, even though it keeps him forever, he'll come and see Frontier Motors. Now, my guys are telling me we've only got a minute left, so I want to let you know that we've got a great Facebook page. So like us on Facebook. We also, this show, you can watch it on YouTube if you want to. I don't know why you would, but if you want to just go to YouTube, put in Frontier Motors, you're going to see my ugly mug. And you also, don't forget our website, 400 cars in inventory, 31 detailed photographs. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Down the street, got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay. Come in today, doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we've got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.